and we are seeing the real value that Apple is doing. Recently, I turned on my Mac laptop and I had the new Apple Intelligence on my
Oh,
laptop. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not all, we have moved from just asking Siri questions like, hi Siri, now we can actually prompt, which is
Nice.
awesome. And
Yeah,
also, the fact that I could just pull up my Apple Intelligence and just kind of like read a bedtime story to my kids. I think that
great.
is really, really great. Yeah, absolutely. But again, there's just so much integration going on, with generative models that Apple is really doing a lot of great job. But
Correct.
again, we know that AI would not be able to do all of this without a trusted database, right?
Yes.
So is it like, generative models is kind of like trying to take all the credits and database are just at the backstage doing all the heavy lifting? And so basically, my question is, how is this even possible? Like we have so many users of, Mac products out there, how are millions of people using the new AI features and are able to prompt it and retrieve really quick results from a database?
Yeah. Actually, that's a very good question. Uh, it's also a for us is
Mhm.
we know the ecosystem like the front end and
Okay.
middle layer and the database layer. So this is like the traditional three-way approach. Still, we are following the same thing, but
Okay.
depends upon the needs. Depends upon be it AI generative AI models. So
Mhm.
and for me, especially about artificial intelligence, data warehousing, and big
Mhm.
data. So all these theoretically back in 2000s. So we
Okay.
learned about all this it's been there in books. So
Yes.
and in this last 10 years or 20 years, we also
Okay.
database also evolved. Not like a traditional Oracle database. Sorry, I'm quoting Oracle because that's where like popular at that time. So
Yeah.
it has its own lots of limitations, challenges. So
Okay.
because it depends upon the acid properties, atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability, it
Mhm.
restricted itself. So
Mhm.
whether it's the number of transactions wise, so whether it's the
Mhm.
database size wise, because if it goes lots of database size, so and also it can't handle, it can't give the throughput what it's supposed to. So
Yeah.
then we came up with this like distribution database, open source, all these databases, right? So these kind of databases are really helping us to handle such kind of high transactions, high throughput of data.
Thank you. So, of course, sometimes I'm kind of like, how are they able to do all of these things? And it's great. So sometimes I would turn up my iPhone. I'm an iPhone user. Not like I have
Yep.
anything with Android, though. Not like I have anything with Android users, but I am an Apple user. So sometimes I turn on my iPhone and suddenly, like a photo pops up, right? Of it could probably be like there was a picture of when my mom was teaching me how to cook, and it kind of like made me feel, oh, Apple, like this was such a long time memory. Like you guys are just giving
Yeah.
me, good memory vibes, and it feels like Apple has built a really good digital time machine with that
Yeah.
for them to actually
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
back to you know and the great thing about this is that it does not only preserve great memories, but it's the fact that it also uses geolocation, so it kind of like tells you where that photo was taken, which I thought was really, really, really nice. So my
Yeah.
question is,
So please go ahead.
okay, so basically, I'm just kind of wondering, how is that database architectures, to make sure that, all of a sudden, Apple just reminds you of something that happened years
Yeah.
back.
So
And
yes, you're right. Yeah.
yeah,
So behind the
okay.
scene, as you rightly mentioned, geographically. So
Hmm.
when we have the data,
Hmm.
so it's not like earlier, like long back, the data is like kind of only for a retrieval. Either it
Okay.
is a select retrieval or
Mhm.
something changed, and
Okay.
do the DML kind of operation. So the databases
Okay.
were so popular for either selecting data or
Okay.
the DML operations, but the request was initiated by the customer. So that was the days back. So
Okay.
now the days are gone, like now the database
Okay.
requirement is like, you have a database, so
Mm-hmm.
automatically you need to send the data to data warehousing or big data or analytics. So it has to drive derive a conclusion or solution or for
Okay.
your business needs. So for the administrative management, they need to do some business decisions. So
Okay.
how they do, like by using this data.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that is one, that's how it started. So then for
Okay.
customer satisfaction, why can't we do so? We have the data, so we have to just like aggregate, see like when that photo has taken. So how frequently this user is going to some particular location. So you will have the all those timestamp everything, so you can
Okay.
aggregate. That's what the artificial intelligence we built in the phone, right, or in the technology. Design that, it's like lot
Yeah.
of efforts behind the scene.
You are saying that it is integrated with AI.
Yeah, so obviously,
That's how
yeah,
it that's how the images pop up pretty much.
correct. So this,
Yourself a one-to-many relationship in your software application, right? And it's just like saying, well, I've got a pizza with many toppings, but also too, you just want to allow some users to see some of your toppings. Like you don't want everyone to see some data. Now, maybe you decide that, oh, okay, let them see just maybe the cheese or the pepperoni.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so basically, my question is, how would you slice up your database, to make sure that you don't turn a pineapple into a pizza, a pineapple on the pizza debate, and
Yep, yep,
make sure that people only get to see what they need to see from the database
yeah.
structure? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good question actually. So that comes under the security. So
Okay.
that's where like some of the database technologies itself provides
Yeah.
the security baselines. So
Okay.
yes, you might have seen I am like a database security lead too in
Okay.
multiple database technologies. So but
Okay.
I can tell in a layman word, like this part comes under security. One level
Okay.
is the database technology which you choose itself has these kind of security rules and baselines defined. So
Okay.
on top of it, we also define the tables, the views. There is something called view, which is like very
Oh,
traditional. So you will have
okay.
table, but the view
Yeah.
is part of it. So depends upon the user. So that's what we proudly say, like security data is encrypted, so no one can see the real data, even though
Yeah.
we have access to the data. First of all,
Yeah.
that security layer is high level, and then to the individual users there is something called what I can say, authorization and authentication.
Comes to extract, transform, and load, what's the secret sauce for efficient data extraction when building the software masterpiece that you were doing?
So the data extraction, right? So the secret sauce for anybody, like any system design,
Yeah.
some technology called memory based.
Okay.
So it's kind of like memcache. So
Okay.
always the cache technology is very awesome. So the
Okay.
popular caching methodology is redis. So
Mm-hmm.
we tend to keep the caching layer before any request hits to the database.
Oh, awesome. It's good to know that catching solves all the problem when it comes to ETL. So that's really great. Okay, so and from catching, that brings me to another question, and this is about, because I think in your previous answer you mentioned NoSQL. Well, so this brings me to a SQL and a NoSQL question. So let's say you
Yep.
were maybe on a side project or something, you were building an e-commerce application. Would you go for SQL knowing fully well that it's the reliable partner who loves structured and defined relationships? Or would you swipe right for a NoSQL who doesn't believe in schemas and avoids joints?
That's a very good debate, actually. So I know NoSQL doesn't support the joins.
I know,
So yeah. So yes, actually, that's the tricky, right? So for any e-commerce,
yeah.
so the way you do system design is,
Uh-huh.
for example, any e-commerce, the best database for the product data, product images, related information, and everything,
Yeah.
MongoDB is the perfect. So, which is
Mm.
like one of the NoSQL. So,
I love
uh,
MongoDB.
but yeah. So, but at the same time, so the user's data, so you have, like I told, right, authentication, authorization, before before even you see the cart, you see the search, you need to see the products and everything, you need to have the
Hmm.
user credentials. So that
Yeah.
particular part can go to a RDBMS, which is, I can say, PostgreSQL, which I'm like, very these days is very popular,
Yeah.
PostgreSQL, and that
Yeah.
open source.
So now, you've got, so many users pouring in just like it's Black Friday in an Apple
Correct.
store new
Correct.
launch for an Apple new phone or
Yeah.
something. And now your database is badly in need of an upgrade because obviously you don't want your application to crash.
Correct.
As a database expert, is this scaling up just a quick turn up? Like, is it something you just do quickly? Or are we talking about database with drama and sleepless nights and so many, so many, so many
No.
things?
Yeah. So if it is like 15 years back, yes, that was the issue, but now things change. So
Okay.
you can provide anything on the fly. So thanks to the cloud infrastructure,
Okay.
thanks to, like, the way we emerged, database as a service, software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, all these things, like, helping us a lot in these situations.
As a database engineer, let's say you were building an employee system management, which basically stores everything about employees from their names, titles, their job roles and everything. Now, this engineer has connected a MySQL server, and the connection string is just tight as that of his airport security. Like, so they make sure that the connection string was really good. And the queries that they gave it was perfect. And of course, the code is flawless. Now, but when it came to the time where the engineer tried to pull the data from the database to the client side, a guy was surprised that nothing showed up. And it was
Okay.
like, what's happening here? Why is this not working?
All of a sudden, it will not work, and you will check like 100 times, you will say, I did the same thing
It's the same
until this
error. I
time,
know.
I did the same thing, but it's not working. So
Yeah.
yeah, there are like multiple reasons could be. So in the data he is trying to fetch from the database, so there is something called locking mechanism.
Okay.
So maybe there is something locks are happening,
Okay.
or there is something called at network layer, there is something called network packet loss. So
Okay.
maybe the data is like, even the database is giving the data back, but data may be dropping. You need to check with, we need to make sure the network is like, the bandwidth is, accurately is correct. uh, also also there could be a limitation sometimes when you hit some limitation.